So hello everyone and welcome to today's CRL coverage of the Belgian Grand Prix. We are here at the illustrious Spa-Francorchamps circuit, 20 turns, 7 kilometres of motor racing beauty here in Tier 4. We have 19 drivers and we've already got our first twist of the race before the cars are even out on track. We have rain, as you can see on the screen. I'm not sure what tyres the drivers will be using. Let's just have a look here. They're all on the intermediate tyres, so yet to see. I'll try and get a little weather update from one of the drivers in the chat, but for now it's raining and the drivers are going to try and get out on track, set some laps. Of course the pace is going to be quite far off in the beginning as everyone has to get to grips with the conditions. But today I am going to be joined by CRL's finest, CRL Scotty Freefall, and I will let him tell you guys why he isn't out on track today. As we can see, we can be selecting the wets.
Oh, you just had to get that in, Ben. Absolute pleasure to be here in the co-coms box. A little return to the Season 5 Formula, and of course I was main comms racing in Tier 2. Had the pleasure this season of racing alongside these drivers, all full-time drivers here tonight, apart from one, myself of course, because, well, let's just say there was some dodgy stewarding that's decided to give me some penalty points and I've reached a few incidents, 10 penalty points race ban. We've seen it a few drivers already. We've actually seen penalty points exceed the 15 mark for a seat removal. That is why Funny Ross Chimp is now your new McLaren driver. So yeah, slap on the wrist for me tonight, Ben.
Yeah, definitely, mate. As soon as I realised who was commentating, I knew I had to throw that one in, although I didn't tell you beforehand, so I apologise. But yeah, Scott in the doghouse for tonight, but at least I get his wonderful voice joining me for comms, as we're seeing MUFC Harvey go on his outlap, taking it as carefully as you might expect. I did see him drive into the wall actually on the Camel Straight, so I'm not sure if he'll have to box and get his wing changed, but hopefully he doesn't. Weekham's out on the wets as well, so I did see him select those, although it looks like he's understeering already, even on his outlap. So I'm not sure if the track is quite ready for those wet tyres. Just have to see, of course.
I think the story with the wets, Cammy is of course serving a qualifying ban. He's been another naughty boy. Just a qualifying ban for him though, so this will just be his outlap, straight back in the pits, set the setup and see him retire shortly. I don't know about Greg though, I'm not sure why he's retired in the pits immediately.
Yeah. Maybe just saw the
strange
rain,
one.
got a bit too scared, yeah.
Opting against it, not to make a fool out of himself maybe. Oh, Greg, shout out to him of course. And a good result last week in Baku did Greg, running very high up at one point. I'm not quite sure where he finished up actually, in fact P9. Not maybe the result he hoped for, but he was running in the top 4 or 5 at one point, so maybe see more of that today.
Great work for him. Of course, he's going to be working his way out from the back. As we're just seeing MUFC Harvey, and he's understeering a lot. I do think he might have got some wing damage, possibly unbeknownst to him, as he tapped the wall, but he's going to go up Eau Rouge, and speaking from experience, this is an incredibly, well, deceptively challenging corner to handle in the wet as Harvey lifts up almost completely. I don't blame him. Traction there is very tricky, as we have a yellow flag already. I believe it's that Cammy. He's spun on this qualifying ban, just coming into the pits now, but he is all in shape. So we're going to go back to Harvey coming through the Lacombe complex now, sweeping off that inside curb, short shifting a bit, getting on the brakes as well, but he takes a nice amount of outside curb, runs into this, I believe it's turn 8. Through there pretty nicely, tentatively of course, through the corner with no name, goes down to 3rd gear just very quickly as we have another retirement, and it's Ash. You see what's happened to him, Scott?
I've not got a perfect on-board view, but it looks as if he's lost it coming out of the Les Colm section, exit of turn number 9 into the wall on the right hand side. Not the qualifying he would have wanted to start off with, but tricky track in the dry, let alone in the wet, and there you can see I'm on board with Shaden. That Williams firmly in the wall on the right hand side, so unlucky for Ash in this session.
Of course, the outside curb is incredibly slippery. I mean, I've lost it there in the dry, as Maverick's disqualified for going the wrong way, so I'm not really sure what's happened to him there. I think he must have been the Alpha Tauri coming out of the pits maybe, but yeah, his car's pulling off to the side, and then that's his qualifying session done. So 3 drivers out, of course, and we should have a 4th if Cammy decides to retire anytime soon. But now MUFC Harvey is going to come up to the notorious bus stop chicane. Just seeing him go through the last corner now, gets the throttle down out of 2nd gear, and he's going to set a 1:55.1. Of course, I have absolutely no idea how that matches up. We're going to have to see the rest of the drivers come in. But next is Spider Up. He's on an out lap.
I believe your next flying lap will be CRL, Xenon, or Drone, as we sometimes like to refer to him, that old name, of course. Coming up to the bus stop chicane, getting down to second gear. A little bit of throttle, a little bit of pump braking as well throughout, keeping it in second on exit. Tentative on the throttle, he'll cross the line, set his first lap at 55.54. Tenths adrift of UFC Harvey as it stands.
Good work from him. I think Shaden is next to come across the line. The former championship contender now languishing a bit down in fifth, it has to be said, as Cammy does retire. And he is the second off in on a 56.6, but of course we haven't seen these laps. We don't know what might have happened, and the first lap in the wet in a qualifying session is always the scariest because you haven't really practiced too much. Imagine these guys won't have practiced wet at all, most of them. I know I certainly don't practice the wet for league races. So yeah, it's like a new session, completely unbeknownst to the drivers, the conditions, as Ruban hops into third with a 56.2, so not too much distance between the drivers. Maybe we're starting to see some representative paces. Ruban's lost it, and he's always lost his wing in the front wall. In the wall, just coming out of the source there. Did you see that, Scott?
I did not, sorry, I was just having a look through this middle sector, see who was coming on to a good lap. Indian Jesus, though, going top of the pops with a 55 flat. He's been a title contender in the mid to start of the season. Of course, having to switch out the setup, going onto the wheel and using an iron board as fact as his rig, so, you know, he's back to the full rig. Hopefully we'll see some of that pace we've seen at times during this season, and I don't think he'll be staying in tier 4 for much longer.
Well, more on that later. I have my personal opinions, but no, he's a great driver. He's just showed an incredible level of improvement. As MUFC Harvey tops him by nearly 7 tenths, so Harvey really getting to grips with the wet, and the fastest of these guys at first. So yeah, great work from the Haas driver. We haven't really seen him, well, I certainly haven't seen him out in front in qualifying. He's always been there or thereabouts, but never excelling as much as we're seeing him do here. So well done to Harvey. But of course, there's still, well, 5 drivers who aren't retired or disqualified yet to set a lap, and of course these guys are all still out on track trying to get some more pace. What you tend to see with the inters more than the softs is that guys will go on multiple runs because ERS isn't diminished as fast, and that's certainly a factor here as well, because of the long straights in the first and third sector. As Chimp is in AI and just on board with Harvey, that's not too great from him, although Harvey fortunately wasn't on a lap.
Chippy boy making a little mistake, of course, jumping back into the full-time seat. He had to give up his full-time seat earlier on in the season, but with that spot opening up, he is back in for the final 2 rounds for McLaren. Hedgehog 11 jumping into the pits on his intermediate lap. Not MUFC Harvey, sorry, CRL Mar 14 going to cross the line, but he has invalidated. I believe the next was Shaden. No, it's not. I am completely colourblind by the look of it. Call me Mr. CRL DC.
I think that is a Haas. Is it Scott Gay? He's 100th up actually, and it gets throttled down. He goes up to P4. So yeah, he found nearly 3.5 tenths in that last sector, over 3.5 tenths. So he goes to P4 with a 56.1. But actually, Indian Jesus, although he didn't move up position, that's why we didn't see. He's improved by 5 tenths now, just about a 1.5 shy of Harvey. So good luck from the Ferrari man, and I believe he's on another one. Yeah, he's a 10th up in the first sector. I'm just going to go on board with him now, sweeping through the common 4th gear, taking all that inside curb, then across the inside, going out onto that exit, not having the same troubles as Ash JW had earlier on. Switch through turn 8s, keeps it in second, accelerates into third, and he goes wide as he can for No Name, misses the inside apex a little bit there, doesn't really get the kind of inside curve that you need to rotate the car fully there, but it's still decent, fairly tidy from Indian Jesus. Very nice for pull on the 6th gear, just about avoids invalidating. Deceptively easy to do that there. Now he's going to sleep into the Fang chicane, I believe, in 4th gear. Slightly misses that inside curve, but it's still good from Indian Jesus. Just brushes the inside on the right there, the left, and he's going to get a slipstream from his teammate. He's 5 tenths up as Indian Jesus. Found a lot of pace. That middle sector really helping him out. I think he needs to be a little bit closer to his teammate to get a slipstream though. Unless Mara is actually on the lap himself, he might just be so quick that he's catching up to his teammate. Bit of embarrassment in the Ferrari garage here. They switch with Blanchimont, takes it flat actually, I believe, or close to flat, which is pretty impressive for wet conditions. And he might be getting a bit of dirty air from his teammate, which isn't helping too much. But he's not going to be blocked exactly, and it's still good from Indian Jesus through the bus-up chicane. Now going to go fastest with a 154.1. and finally downshifts, and that is his first 3 runs over for the day. But yeah, good luck from Indian Jesus there. As Cragger retires. What's happened there, Scott?
Yeah, Craigo just retiring on the entry to no name there. It just seems to have lost it on the curb into the wall on the right hand side. Seen a few drivers make mistakes like that already. Of course, Belgium famed for its wet conditions at times. We've seen it, of course, this season, or last season, sorry, in the proper F1, and of course, last season in CRL, the bold strategy call from Hedgehog, jumping on mediums as it was going to inters, and it was swinging back and forward. So the rain definitely playing an effect this weekend already. But most of the drivers, for that, starting to get in some nice competitive lap times. You're saying there, Matt Rowney, he was on his first flyer, 55.9, making a few mistakes though, but again, another driver switched to the wheel a little bit more tricky than the pad, especially if that's all you're used to in the wet conditions, so expect him to improve over the course of this session, alongside the likes of MUFC Harvey and Dane Jesus, and Farrell and Hedgehog, both yet to set a lap time, both newcomers to the wheel as well.
Yeah, of course, this seems to be the driver, the washed up Tier 1 and Tier 2 drivers switching to the wheel. It's like their little haven, as I won't let you respond to that. We're seeing Ghost Angel 1 rotating through the bus stop chicane pretty nicely, applying both foot on the brake, so his engine might be screaming out a little bit, but it looks decent from Angel 1, and he doesn't improve his position, still P13, but of course that's his first lap, and as we've seen as a trend with a lot of other drivers, they tend to improve on their second and third runs. As yeah, Indian Jesus, of course, well, he set 3 laps on those tyres, because I mentioned the ERS as to why drivers tend not to tend to go multiple laps consecutively. Also, tyre wear is a lot better with the inters. And I'm just going to get a weather report actually, so I'll leave it with you, Scott. Going to see what the drivers have said. As Bruno Fernandes has scored for Manchester United, for anyone who cares.
I hope one of the Booth brothers isn't listening in. That might be horrendous spoilers for them. We all know they are the league's resident Man U fans. I'm just trying to find who is on a flyer at the moment. Scott Gay coming through the bus stop chicane and pulling into the pits, so he is not on one. Pio, by the looks of it, is he's only done a 57.3 so far, just coming to the end of the first sector, and he's already found 6.5 tenths on his personal best. Coming through less comms now. We've seen Ash go off into the wall here. Ben, are you spotting something with them moves?
Oh, I just saw on his onboard there was a big wiggle there, kind of drifting the car through the Lecom complex, but he did really well, did Pio. Great handling.
Yes, really an up-and-coming driver. He's made this Tier 4 his home when he's been here. He's of course raced on and off of us from near enough the beginning of CRL, and yet to really make an impact on to Tier 3. Showed some good pace at times, and then just sort of comes and wanes. So hopefully another good week for Pio here could maybe pull that car further up the championship table. Of course, my fellow admin in this division, maybe a little bit of bias going on there, but I'd love to see a good result from him. 6.5 temps up though at the end of Sector 2.
Yeah, great stuff from him. I've got a weather report from Scott Gay, a word I will not use for the purpose of monetisation, and then wet in the race, and then words from Farrell and Maverick is that the race will be dry to wet, so we're going to see similar situation. I'm not quite sure of the exact proceedings of Tier 4 at this track last season. All I know is Hedgehog 1 and he can't stop going on about it, but that's so maybe more of the same from him today. Of course, he's transitioning to the wheel. It's his first, his return to Tier 4. We won't talk about his first race, but yeah, he's struggled to get to grips with it at a time, but he's definitely shown flashes of really good pace as Hedge, and now he's just coming up to the bus stop chicane to set his first lap. Seems to brake quite early for that, yeah.
Yeah, he's very, very tentative at times, a few little mistakes here and there, but he's slowly starting to get grips. It will take time. First lap though, the first driver in the 2 minutes, I'm sure that'll be a record he's keen to keep. Or not so much. Of course, his first and only win in CRL coming here last season, so high expectations. And of course, as the champion, the reigning Tier 4 champion, this was his pick of the circuits.
Oh well, I mean, it's a pretty good pick, has to be said. Beautiful track, and throwing up drama even in qualifying with where a lot of drivers struggling to keep it on track. Yeah, I forgot to say, we saw Ghost Angel going through Krago's car. It was in the most precarious position you can imagine. It was yeah, just on the exit of No Name, right on the outside curve that drivers want to take. So fortunately we didn't see any more DNFs. Of course, we've got 2 minutes 35 in the session. The time has flown by. We're just watching MUFC Harvey on board, and he's 2/10 up actually. Could he stake a claim to pole position? Goes very wide, but he goes flat out, and he's still got enough fuel in his car to go for another lap, I believe. So not everything's riding on this for Harvey, but certainly he's got a good improvement now, and he wants to capitalise. Goes all the way onto the grass, though that isn't helping, but keeps it flat through Blanchimont. As did Indian Jesus, brakes at about 100 metres for the bus stop chicane, rides all that inside curb and rotates his car onto the inside there, and that is very well taken from MUFC Harvey, although I do worry that some of the mishaps earlier in the lap have cost him, but no, he's still getting 2/10, and he goes onto pole position with a 53.9, sorry, but Indian Jesus is on his lap now, Scott.
Yeah, and Jason is looking to strike back at that 2/10 advantage currently to MUFC Harvey. While that lap was going on, Bailiff, our championship leader, we'll touch on that later on tonight, I'm sure. He set a 55.1, going fourth, not tenths, thousandths clear of Bailiff. Indian Jesus, though, up the 2.5 tenths he would need to go pole at the end of Sector 1. This downhill right-hander that I cannot remember the name of, but the next one easy. It does not have a name, that's why it is called No Name. A little bit of a tongue twister in there, almost, you could say, a little bit of a contradiction, but we do love it. Shading the tyre on track, though, on the entry to No Name.
Try and catch that, see in Bailiff's tailwind, but I can't see, is there a Haas car coming through? Yeah, it's MUFC Harvey. I think Shaden stacked it at the exact same position that Craigo did. Yeah, he has. Oh, it's really dodgy for drivers' laps. Of course, the car will probably be ghosted in game, but they don't want to take that risk. Of course, the wonderful F1 2021 game throwing up surprises of all kinds as we watch Mar go through pool on here. They're taking it very well, it has to be said. Of course, Mar, one of the quickest drivers in the division on his day, going through the French chicane. It's looking good. Maybe he's finding more pace in the wet conditions. All will be revealed at the split, although he does go painfully wide there. Still 5 tenths up though for Mar. This could see him jump a lot of position, especially as Shaden and Craggle will not be improving. Let's see how much time he can find in the bus stop chicane. Flying down the back straight in sector 3 now. He's been tailed by Zenon, I believe. Hopefully Zenon isn't on a lap and there isn't any impeding going on. We're close to qualifying being over now, as yep, and Ghost Angel still on his out lap. I think the timer might be slightly desynced as we see Mar go through the last corner. He's taking it pretty well, but he did actually lose some time. Zenon goes up to P2 with a 54.0, but he's so close to Mar and he's probably going to get blocked here. We want to go on another one. Mar does get out of the way. I think he might have spun actually. He has
did
spun.
Indeed. He lost it under traction, and oh, there's a Haas getting very out of shape on the exit of turn 1. I believe that was Scott Gay. Yeah, the tail wiggling out there, almost sideways, doing very well to catch it. While that was going on, Father Fury putting his one and only lap of this session in so far, a 54.6. Irishman, leaving it late to get times on the board. I think he is on another flyer. Few tenths could really see him come into contention for this pole position as Hedgehog has retired in the pits.
Yep, and Ghost Angel is now on his lap. The checker flag has just been out, so Ghost Angel just made it. Of course, our time is a minute out sync or so. Let's see who the next driver coming to the line, though. I think it's Spider Rob. Let's see what he can do. He's 6 tenths down on this split, though. Must have been a few mistakes in there. But the British man, I believe he had a podium last week as well, when he outbraked himself really badly into the bus stop chicane, so I'm not sure if this is going to be an improvement for Spider Rob. As he comes across the line, no, it's not. He's more than a second down. Maybe grip slightly reducing as the rain beats down, but not for Indian Jesus. He's 2.8 tenths up. Going to go into the broadcast mode. We see him sweep through the bus stop chicane, getting as much rotation as he can, just on the brakes a little bit for that final corner, accelerates out of second gear, and that's a good run for Indian Jesus. And he's going to go fast this, and as usual he pulls it out the bag, but can Harvey respond? He's 700ths down this time, and it looks like he's run out of fuel. He has run out of fuel as Harvey. He has to back out of his lap. That's a shame for him. I think next across the line of the front runners will be CRL Zenon. Let's see what he can do coming down into the bus stop chicane in second gear, riding all of that insert curve very aggressively, similar to Indian Jesus. But how can Zenon do it? Looks like he's on a good lap, you know. He's going to go fastest. Ooh, a 153.1.
4 tenths clear. Lovely lap from Zenon there.
Oh, and PO spun it off the last corner as Scott Gay has to avoid him, but he had invalidated this time, so not too much of a problem. But that is incredible from Zenon. Did you catch much of that lap?
I seen right at the end at the bus stop, like the run he got through there was incredible. Just finding time, it seemed, at every corner though, looking really, really comfortable. Pretty low on the fuel as well, so that car getting lighter, getting more confident with the track. Wuban going to be the next to cross the line here for the Aston Martin. Run up to the line now, out of the bus stop. Chicane goes up to 7th, or stays in 7th, I should say, with the 55 free. Last to cross the line then will be Ghost Angel 1 as he's unfortunately spun, and he was 9/10 up on an improvement. Could have saw him jump Page for P13.
Of course, man. Because he only got one lap in, I think. That was his might have been his first run of 57.9. So not too great for Ghost Angel, but of course with rain at the end of the race, this qualifying is so far from deciding the session. But yeah, Zenon on pole by 4/10 from Indian Jesus. Considering the quality laps that Indian Jesus has been able to put through time and time again this season, for someone to out qualifying by 4/10, that's great work from Zenon. Of course, one of the races I commentated, he matched Indian Jesus at Jeddah pace wise, but yeah, to be 4/10 clear is incredibly impressive. And shout out to Harvey as well. He looked like the front runner at the beginning of the session, slightly dropped off. He ran out of fuel on his last run after being up. So yeah, commiserations to him, but I'm sure he'll be very happy with a P3 start.
Absolutely not a bad start at all. P3 for MEFC Harvey. Last season's pole sitter award, you could almost say, seemed to consistently knock it up there. Switching to the wheel this season and still finding the pace. Zenon, your pole sitter though, followed by Indian Jesus, the Alfa Romeo Ferrari 1-2. Haas Red Bull 3-4 in the form of MEFC Harvey and Faro Fury. Bailiff Championship leader alongside one of his rivals on the third row, 5th and 6th for him and Craigo. Aston Martin, row 4 in the form of Wuban, ahead of his teammate Bio, with Shaden and Matt Rowney, CRL Mar, rounding off your top 10. Spider Rob, I Scott Gay, Hedgehog 11, Ghost Angel 1, Fonny Chimp, Ash JW, Wee Cammy, race here for the start, Ben. Another thing, I've had a little report, you're a little bit quiet, mate, so get the lungs out, get shouting.
I've turned you down a bit because I've got comments on the stream saying you're very loud, so I've just turned you down, mate. Get back in the box. You're in the doghouse, don't be too loud. But yeah, I apologise. I'll try and turn my mic up a bit as well. If I could get some feedback from anyone, that would be much appreciated. But we are ready here. Well, getting ready.
Who you're a fan of? Is it Ben or is it Scott? Either I'm too loud or you're too quiet. I suppose it's sort of a different viewpoint there.
Who told you I was too loud? I was too quiet.
Let's just say it was a close family friend. It was my goddaughter.
Well then.
She's complaining that that guy Ben is a little bit too quiet.
That guy?
That guy
disrespectful.
Benjamin. Terrible. I'll need to teach her better, eh?
Yeah, honestly. To be fair, we've had a history of, well, I won't go into it actually, but shout out to Liam Carrag, that's all I'm saying.
Indeed.
Topher says stream is fine in the chat, that's very helpful, thank you, mate. And now we're going to have a look at the strategies that these guys have chosen to select, actually. So, the top 10 all starting on the soft tyres, which is interesting because they didn't have to. No one going, because there's rain at the end, I thought you might want to go on the mediums to try and stretch it out, or even the hard tyre if it's going to be really late. But of course, I've seen in some cases in league racing that that can be a bit risky because if the rain doesn't come in the end, and you know how unreliable the game can be. And Jeff, everyone's best friend. Yeah, these guys opting for soft, opting for pace at the start, so we're going to see a nice representative, hopefully fairly close racing, as I've spilt my drink on myself. What a way to start the Belgian Grand Prix. Oh dear.
Off that flying start here, we're up to the right, Ben, indeed, but the strategy, like you're saying, a bit surprised at that, of course. It is an approximate, so it's just a rough indication of what may come. And of course, well, need we say more? Season 5, CRL, Tier 1, just ask Nathan about the Hungarian Grand Prix and his antics with Jeff. That tells you everything you need to know. The most unreliable wingman in the human history, I would say.
A real engineer doing the job that Jeff's doing would be sacked within days, but unfortunately they can't hire anyone else to do the voiceover, so we're stuck with him for the while. Oh well. This grid is pretty spread out through the formation lap, has to be said. This might be a bit of a worry for these guys. They have to try and get their soft tyres up for temperature. By these guys I mean the front runners, because there's a long way back to Maverick, who's just going through Puron now, whereas the other guys are exiting onto the straight, so they're going to want to warm up their tyres because of the fall off they're going to experience while they're stationary on the grid.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of tactics going on here. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But P5 Bailiff, the first big gap coming between him and his championship rival Craigo. Maybe some mind games going on here between these two, as he does in fact bunch up, saying I'm doing a good job though to sort of try and reform the grid like a safety car restart almost before the final turn. Looks like we're waiting on Hedgehog to sort of close the main big gap.
He's taking his
the
time.
grid will reform. Yeah, he's taking his sweet time ahead. They're not known as the fastest animals, well, apart from that single blue one, of course. But the rest of them fairly slow, and I'd take to say Hedgehog falls into that.
Shout out to Hedge if you're watching this, mate. I didn't say it, he did. But we're already.
I know his missus will be watching it, and I'm sure that'll be getting clipped and sent to him. And need to say anymore.
Be taking a lot of pain for that one, but we are ready here as all the guys are lined up on the grid, and I've got the most awkward view of Zenon right now as the leaderboards are glitching. We've got 3, 4, 5 red lights out here in the Belgian Grand Prix, and it's lights out and away we go, and Zenon gets a good start. Indian Jesus not looking to challenge him as Zenon moves over to the outside. Further back we've got Indian Jesus and Harvey's got an inside run on Indian Jesus, and he goes up into P2 off the Kemmel straight. There's a lot of carnage at the back, it seems, dust flying up from the cars, but no one spun, which is a good start. But now we're going through a Rouge on colder tyres. This corner can be incredibly challenging, but Zenon goes out into the lead, but Harvey looks like he's got a better run. He's just 2/10 back, 1/10 back, and Harvey's got all his ERS on, running much slower wings it seems, and it looks like he's going to go around the outside for the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix. And Harvey with a magnificent start there, Scott, and he goes into the
brilliant
lead.
Start from Harvey all the way up from P3 into P1, further back through the grid. A little bit of chaos, but nobody crashing out at Radion. Nobody making horrendous contact into turn 1, and a fairly clean start by the full grid here.
I tell you what, Wee Cammy has an absolute flight. He's gone from P17 from his quali ban all the way up into P10. It's like his quali ban never happened, and he is flying. I don't know exactly what happened, and Harvey's gone through Paul, and at that start it looks like it's for nothing. Has he gone into the wall? He's spinning around, has to let all these guys through, and that is an absolute nightmare for Harvey after a brilliant qualifying session. He goes down. He is now officially last after that start. Do you reckon he was just pushing a bit too hard? Did you catch it? And Spider Rob's round as well. Greg's Game Centre is round as well, and Wee Cammy's round as well. The two guys with perhaps the best starts on the grid have both lost positions here, and Cammy's back all the way down to P17. Like, that brilliant start never happened. Talkers for
big contact between Funny Osh Chimp and MUFC Harvey Chimp running wide, trying to come back onto the track, and it goes from bad to worse for Harvey.
Oh, what a disaster. I feel so bad for him, you know, man. And he's got no wing. He's 100% going to have to box in for medium tyres now, whatever tyre he chooses to go on. That is a nightmare for Harvey after such an amazing start. Elation goes to deflation, 0 to 0 for Harvey, and he comes into the pits, limps in, it has to be said. Oh dear. That is racing for you. What a brilliant first lap we have here in Belgium. But Zenon out in the lead with Indian Jesus just behind him.
Farrell just holding on as well. Those three look to be our front three runners. Hopefully none of them make the mistakes we've seen. It seems to be the curbs catching out a few of the runners here on lap 1. Of course, they wouldn't have the chance to really attack them during qualifying as Ash JW goes for a move on Hedgehog down the Camel Straight, and that's our first retirement. It is Greg's Game Centre at Radion.
And it looks like, I haven't got the sign up on my screen. Is it a VSC?
VSC, not a full safety car, just a VSC, thankfully.
Okay, good. But yeah, Greg Jameson does looking behind Harvey, and yep, Eau Rouge claiming its first casualty, dare I say the first of a few at least. Look, Greg Game Centre retired from, started from the back and will unfortunately stay there. But shout out to him, unlucky mate, we've all done it. But is it still a VSC? I still haven't got the sign up on my screen for some unbeknownst reason. Yeah.
I think you might have almost a little bit of game sync, because I was perfectly synced up in the qualifying timer, but it is still a VSC here on lap 2 of 22, of course. 22 laps here around Spa. This longest track on the calendar means the shortest amount of laps. Just touching that Greg's Game Centre incident as well. Season 4, I believe it was, we seen some almighty crashes around Belgium at that corner. I believe, if I remember right, there was only about 8 finishers that day out of a possible 20. It was 9 finishers out of 20 cars. The rest of them, the majority of them, being claimed at Eau Rouge and Radion.
Yeah, about this.
Maybe a repeat today.
The old, the now rebranded once CRA, as Spider-Rob gets to drive through, the only one. But yeah, Spider-Rob languishing down to P16 after a spin at Fania. That's not good for him. But now I'm going to go on board with Indian Jesus here. As we see him sweep through, Eau Rouge got a great run on Zenon. He's got his ERS on. I don't even think he needs it. He's going to pass through the lead. And Ariel Farrow Fury, is he going to have a look in as well? He's not using his ERS. He's going to try and distance himself, not make it too chaotic.
For the back, Bailiff going for a move on Craigo. The championship rivals battling it out here. Of course, Bailiff have 39 points advantage as it stands. 82 points available, but next round, if you discount this, it's only 41. So as long as he has 42 points lead going into this Grand Prix, meaning a 3-point advantage over Craigo by the end of this session, he will be champion tonight. Of course, there is still Matt Rowney to count into that fight. He's only 40 points behind Bailiff, the man in the Alpine, all to play for. But Bailiff got to be relishing this chance to try and finish things off tonight after a strong performance around Baku, picking up a win as Ghost Angel 1 picks up the first of what I'm sure will be many 3-second penalties around here. A very tricky track, both in curbs for traction and for curbs for track extensions for the drivers to negotiate round here tonight, Ben.
Yeah, it's challenging track, longest on the calendar, as you mentioned earlier, just over 7 kilometers. The only circuit to reach that mark, and yeah, a lot of tight twists, a lot of chicanes here, and the curbs are deadliest. We're just watching Craigo. He's braking very late, and he's caught Bailiff. Well, sorry, he hasn't caught Bailiff. He's been overtaken by Bailiff on the DRS straight, on Kemmel straight. Sorry. But yeah, he's going to have to look and try and get back at him now. Of course, these guys fighting for a championship. Craigo needs a bit of a miracle here. Wants to try and get himself towards that top 3 if he wants any hope of usurping Bailiff in the Alpine in the last 2 rounds. But of course, anything can happen, as we saw perhaps most infamously at Austria, as Craigo's getting his ERS on for the move. Is he going to make it? Bailiff's of course got no DRS, but he is deploying his ERS slightly lower than Craigo, and he stays in front, I believe. But yeah, as I said, in Austria we had a last lap kerfuffle, to say the least, with Bailiff and Indian Jesus, who was at that time perhaps Bailiff's strongest championship contender. But yeah, Bailiff got a bit out of shape coming out of I believe turn 5 it was, and sent Indian Jesus onto the wall on the final lap when they were fighting for the win, which was not what we wanted to see. Bailiff was it was an accident, but he was still slapped with a heavy penalty. But now it didn't seem to have affected him too much, because he's in the lead by 40 points of the championship. But his rival Craigo hunting him down in more than just a race today, as we see a lovely bit of desync on Bailiff's screen.
Yeah, I prefer not to remember that Austria race. I was just thinking, we were talking about before, of course, I've bottled 3 podiums in the last 3 races potentially. So we do have yellow flags in sector 2. That is Shaden off into the wall on the left hand side at Fania, and it's another VSC here.
Are we going to see any stops? Because I think at this point you can stop.
Maverick did pit, and it's a full course safety car now. The race director switching it to a full safety car.
Into the pits. Oh, and Farrell Fury and Bailiff collided. What? Farrell just got flipped. Farrell, I don't know what happened there. Bailiff and Farrell Fury just collided. I'm not sure what's happened on the safety car. It's clearly been a huge miscommunication between the two. It doesn't look like Farrell's got damage, as he has a lot of turn in there, but I don't really know what's happened. Did you catch that, Scott?
Really, I didn't, unfortunately. I was having a look, trying to see what was happening through the back of the field, see if anybody had any damage or anything relating to that Shaden incident, but I've seen it a few times, I must admit. A few cars getting flipped, maybe under desync by the most part, And maybe that's another case. You're saying Bailiff a little bit desynced. Maybe there's a little bit going on there as Ash JW picks up a drive-through penalty for his troubles for speeding under the safety car. A lot of cars into the pits though. Indian Jesus, Xenon, Craigo, Pio, Scott Gay, Matt Rowney, wee Cammy, and the Maverick. Scott Gay picking up a 3-second time penalty as well under safety car. That is really not what you want to make a move and do. Farrell though seems to really be struggling to close up the gap on Bailiff. Bailiff seems to still just be gunning it almost.
Yeah, I'm not sure these guys have a delta. I don't think they do, as they pass the safety car, but I wouldn't be sure. And Bailiff is lifting off a lot, actually. I don't really know what's going on there. I think Farrell must have just backed off a bit.
Still, I was just hoping there it wasn't. We've seen, of course, at the Brazilian Grand Prix this season, there was a little bit of issue with the safety car. Effectively stayed out for one lap, didn't let the pack bunch up, and really caused issues in the race. Hopefully none of that tonight. We will see, of course, the safety car waiting there at Radio and not considering to go around the track. So hopefully it will catch Bailiff on this lap and we can get the race. The pack, sorry, reformed up and racing underway. Luban another one making a silly mistake with a 3-second penalty.
I think he's gone wide on the straight. Actually, that's really not what we wanted. As Bailiff stays out, Farrell and Ruban choose not to. Bailiff going to try and make those softs work. But yeah, Ruban picking up a 3-second penalty. I've had a penalty there on the straight myself. Is, as I said many times, deceptively easy to do a lot of things here. But exceeding track limits is certainly one of them.
Yeah, very, very silly mistake to make under safety car. Not quite sure what's going on with the session. A few drivers reporting, saying a little bit, well, Xenon saying there's a little bit of issue with desync, saying it's host bandwidth, but I seem to be all fine on my end. Bailiff though leaving the session.
Do you reckon you can invite him back? If you have him as a friend, I can. If you don't, but
I'll be able to get him in. Hopefully.
Don't know what's going on there. Of course, we don't have a stand in the lobby to see if it's a if it's an issue with their Wi-Fi. Hopefully not. Hopefully Bailiff can get back in. He has a championship to defend after all. Very important for him. Although, yeah, he's just joined straight back. Hopefully not too many bugs for Bailiff, and hopefully he'll be able to get back in before the safety car goes back into the pits. Yeah, good stuff. Of course, so there's currently 5 drivers who haven't stopped. Ghost Danger 1 up in P6. Good to see him there. He's on a nose. He hasn't stopped right now, but his soft tyres might still have a bit of grip left in them to defend against the medium runners that are Craigo, and I believe, is anyone on the hards? Yeah, everyone who stopped has gone onto the mediums, or the softs. In the case of Scott Gay, Wee Cammy and the Maverick. I'm not sure exactly what they want to do there. If they make them last, it'd be absolutely incredible, but it would be more than a half challenge to try and get that done. Of course, I've seen incredible bits of tyre racing in my time, tyre management in my time.
I wonder if they're maybe gambling on that rain coming in a little bit earlier than expected. Yeah. Ruban's lost 2 positions and has actually spun it on the... I'm not quite sure the name of the corner there again, but he's lost out about 5 positions there.
It was a disaster
unfortunate for him.
Yeah, I'm very unfortunate for Ruban, who had a pretty good start. He was running in P3 at the start of the safety car, and now he's in P10 with a penalty. So yeah, not great for the Brit, but of course we could obviously nearly overtake Scott Gay there. Hopefully we can see him get back into it. Of course, I really predict well, you can't predict the end, because I think it's going to be pretty, bit of guesswork. It's going to be involved, to say the least. If that rain does indeed come, although the sky isn't looking, it isn't showing too many signs of clouds or any imminent rain. But you never know. Everything changes very quickly on this game, as it's a pathetic simulation of real life. But I'm not here to review it. Yeah, I believe has everyone stopped now?
Everyone apart from Hedgehog and Spider Rob, by the looks of it, those two on their starting mediums. MEFC Harvey, of course, we saw in that lap 1 incident, he has stayed out on those mediums that he made the pit stop for that lap. It's a good opportunity for him to regroup and sort of refocus his race here. Of course, 4-lap old mediums, not going to be great against the newer mediums or, of course, the fresh softs, but Again, he should be able to make it to the end of his move, and almost making contact with Scott Gay there at the end of the Camel Straight. Camel or Camel? That's a big discussion there, I suppose, Ben. I always say Camel. That's maybe the Scottish in me.
Well, it says K-E, it's spelled K-E-M-M-E-L. At least I think. I need to check that actually. If I just go on my the Wikipedia article I have conveniently up, layout history, track configurations, it is spelt K-E-M-M-E-L.
So that's Camel then. We'll go with Camel.
So yeah, not too huge of a debate there, unless but of course if you have French in you, you're probably screaming at me to get my life sorted out. So I do apologise for any. I'm not going to say foreigners. That sounds a bit hostile. For any of people.
You really make that Union Jack shine through there, Ben, with that.
I really hope my mates don't see this.
Our resident Frenchman Kevin Duell might be screaming, and even more so our resident Belgians of Melios, Wild Dog, and of course Cal Cohen are back in this lap though, Ben. Lap 8 will be green flag racing. 15 laps, hopefully, till the end. No more incidents, no more safety cars, virtual safety cars, just pure, honest, hard racing.
Yeah, well, hopefully we're going to see all of that. Of course, the guys who got drive-throughs earlier, apart from Ash, I think Ash has tried to serve his drive-through on the safety car, which is really unfortunate for him. I've done that in the past as well, in my more inexperienced days as a league racer. But yeah, hopefully he'll be able to get back up. I wouldn't be surprised if there was another safety car, as we're going to see Indian Jesus now warming his tyres. He's gone early, and has he caught Zen and cold? I don't think he has, although Farrell Fury has dropped to out of a second. He's going to really need to regain that if he wants to get back in the DRS, does Farrell.
Of course, we have another few laps for DRS isn't able. They will have time to regroup that, but look at the jumps and the gaps between Farrell and Xenon, and then again Farrell and Craigo, but Xenon having an attack here on this restart, trying to go around the outside of turn 1, side by side, down of course the old start finish straight, and in fact going to get the move done before Eau Rouge and Radion. Brilliant bit of racing from the young Englishman. Indian Jesus though not going to take this line down. He's trying to line up a move down, back down the Camel Straight, getting that Ferrari just in front but on the outside line, and staying on, choosing to duck back in, knowing how dangerous that inside curve can be. Very good racing from these two already.
Oh, and we just see Farrell Fury cut across the corner there, but he has got within to within a second now, so hopefully he can try and stay there. And
the back spiral P13. So John just having a little half spin, losing out a few positions. That's see Bailiff and MEFC Harvey rise back up through the field ever so slightly. Echo Stage 1 losing out to Ash JW as well.
We forgot to mention that Bailiff lost a lot of positions when he stopped after he disconnected from the session. He's now down in P12, so what looked like a very good promising position for him has been quite badly diminished by the SC. But of course we know Bailiff, he's got good race craft and great pace. A Spyro gets a straight 3-second penalty for corner cutting, and yet he's drifting straight across Fanny Chicane. Already over, isn't it? Ghost Danger 1, but he just about gets off the way, saving Ghost Danger 1's front tyres and himself from a 5-second penalty for an unsafe rejoin, as Ghost Danger, the Maverick, has to basically stop to avoid Spider up there, the cross on the wheels, proving very tricky to handle for the Alfa Romeo. Of course, a lot of understeer involved with that, but Indian Jesus has got Zenon back, and Zenon's had a dodgy exit, lost almost 3 attempts to Indian Jesus, and he's now out of a second. Can the German driver try and push out that DRS gap and prevent any counter-attacks from Zenon? We'll have to see. Of course, we've just got one more lap until it's allowed, so we're going to need to see a big push from the Ferrari man. Of course, as we've seen many times throughout the season, nothing's impossible for Indian Jesus, as his teammate Matt Rowney gets a 3-second penalty down in P8, so not too great for him, Scott.
Not ideal, but great to see Indian Jesus saying on battling once again. Yellow flags in sector 1, it is Ghost Angel 1.
It's Ghost Angel. I'm going to go on board with Ash, and I think he's just lost it as he lifts off a lot there. Yeah, Ghost Angel in the exact same place to the millimetre where Greg lost the car. Eau Rouge proving incredibly challenging for the boys here. and I don't blame them. It's yeah, when you've got a lot of fuel in that car, you can go flying off and lose control of the car, and once those rear tyres start to slide and your car starts facing in the wrong direction, there's no save, there's nothing to save you from the barriers, as we saw what perhaps best exemplified by Lando Norris's Q3 crash in Belgium in real life last year in the treacherous conditions that we saw. But yeah, very dangerous corner. Of course, they're reprofiling it for next year, although I don't know too much of that, so you could probably, maybe you could try and help me out with any knowledge, Scott.
Answers on a postcard, mate, I must admit, not my my strong point. That corner, even last season as a tier 2 driver, it took me until the first the afternoon to figure out how to do the corner. So definitely not my strong suit. But of course, that was what was the word? A washed tier 2 driver.
Yeah, that was
though jumping into the pits, he was just battling out with wee Cammy MEMC Harvey. Spider, although really struggling on those 8-lap-old mediums by the sound of things, and the looks of things I should say, having another little spin around Puon that lap. But like I was saying, great to see Indian Jesus and Zenon battling out for the win, although it's more Zenon and Farrell Fury battling out for P2 at the moment down at the Kemmel Straight. And another retirement for Radion, and MUC Harvey is out. And this could be it is a VSC.
Another VSC. Hasn't switched to a full course safety car yet, so that's encouraging. Yeah, the third casualty at Eau Rouge. Harvey, last time I watched him, he was running a very unstable setup as well. Nearly lost the car about 5 times through at one corner in Abu Dhabi, I believe it was turn 3, and he leaves the session in anger. A great qualifying, a great start for him, well, great first half lap for him, all went spiralling away at Puon, and now he's out of the session, the 4th casualty of today. Commiserations go out to Harvey. Really hope we back stronger for the season finale in Bahrain.
Absolutely, he's a driver on the up, I must say, of course. Got to watch him as the lead commentator in this tier last season. Got the race with him this season. Of course, he's switching to the wheel. Last season, his quali pace was phenomenal, but his race pace, a few mistakes, a few little incidents, and of course the big thing, 21 seconds abilities around Mexico, I think, is the key thing. They're winning the race by about 18 seconds, but not quite enough to counteract the 21 seconds of pains he had. But this year, this season anyway, on the wheel, starting to refine out those little mistakes, getting the pace up to speed, and definitely one to watch Bahrain and beyond in his future in CRL. BSC ending though. I wish we got a little notice just to say it's going to end in a couple of seconds here, lads. Get ready to start talking again. But everybody getting away without a drive-through this time, thankfully for the drivers. Just about to reach the halfway mark though, Ben. No rain in sight. Nope. Everybody on fresh S, mediums or softs. The softs so likely to have to stop again. Yeah,
probably. I mean, if they're going to have to pray for another safety car. I mean, with every retirement, they'll be crossing their fingers. As we see Farrell, he's got back into the DRS, and has Zenon as well. So yeah, these guys connected in the train. Indian Jesus lost the gap that he initially had, perhaps through the power of the DRS in earlier laps. But yeah, no rain in sight, no clouds in sight really, Scott. The weather is as beautiful and serene as it was on the first lap. So yeah, I think the drivers' MFDs might have lied to them there. Of course, 11 laps is, well, when you think about Belgium, 11 laps doesn't sound like a lot in other tracks, so like Monaco, for example, the shorter circuits, but when you're at Belgium, as Farrell, I'm going to interrupt you there, Farrell has lost the car and he's gone into the wall and lost an end plate, and it's really unfortunate for the Irish driver in the Red Bull, and he's gone down to P7 and he's probably going to have to box for a ring change. Really unfortunate for Farrell there, but he just lost it at Fania.
Yeah, I was just about to jump in and absolutely scream about that there, beating me to the punch, but disappointing for Farrell, running a great race in P2. Maybe the only one at this stage. Zenon not looking to have the pace. Craigo well off the mark that could challenge Indian Jesus for this win. He will be another one adding to that list, praying for a safety car. Big shout out to Hedgehog 11 here as well. Yeah. The only man is still yet to stop, of course, currently in P11. 10 lap hold on the mediums. He's going to jump up to P10 with Farrell pitting here, but maybe a little sneaky strategy going on here, just praying for the rain, praying for a light safety car, fire on the source, and try and blast through the field as late as he can.
Yeah, of course, nothing's guaranteed in Div 4. These guys, Indian Jesus and Zenon, out at front in the minute, but anything can change. And I'm not sure, I mean, I don't think Zenon is quite on the pace of Indian Jesus, but of course, I've been in one race this season, certainly, where Indian Jesus was absolutely controlling behind, I believe it might have been, I think it might have been Chugs, who's unfortunately had to leave the league since, or at least become a reserve due to his connection, but he was under pressure from Chugs, and he just spun it at the hairpin at Abu Dhabi. So yeah, I'm not saying he's a bottle job, well, I essentially am, but let's just say he's prone to losing the car under pressure sometimes. Hopefully we won't see the same here, but the guys have been struggling at this track particularly today. I think the two main corners, Eau Rouge and Afania Chicane, as speaking of which, ironically Pouon claims another victim, and it's the other Haas car this time, Scott Gay, although he's only gone down to P6, so not too much of a disaster, and I don't think he has damage either. But yeah, as I was saying, Indian Jesus can, although he seems to have, well, in my opinion, the best pace in this tier, he's not quite got as much racecraft as you might want from a guy with that pace. Not to criticise him or anything, but yeah, we could see a bit of pressure getting to him. Of course, Zenon isn't too far off, only 1.6 seconds, and that's gone down since the last lap. So the Brit seems to be holding his own against the veteran German driver, especially in this league.
Yeah, indeed, Jesus has been around here for a while, competed right at the top in Tier 1, so of course still getting to grips with that wheel, but he does generally know what he's doing. But of course, I can vouch for that myself. I'm sure Farrell, MEFC Harvey, Matt Rowney, anybody else, Hedgehog of course, that switched from pad to wheel, it is a different level of pressure and a different level of bottle. I think maybe I can claim the crown on the bottles this season. Bailiff though battling out with Scott Gay, going really deep into the bus stop chicane on that last lap, doing well to slow down the car enough not to even hit the wall on the entry, just, you know, if you go insanely deep. So trying to outbrake the Haas into the bus stop, maybe getting a little impatient here, knowing he needs to try and chase down and get as many points this Grand Prix, not to try and win it today, but just to try and shoot up his chances of winning it in Bahrain, because we've seen it before. Of course, last season in Tier 2 at Bahrain, there was a huge collision between KXI and J Wills on the final lap that cost KXI a good chance at the title. So it's never in hand until it's actually in hand, I suppose, is a good way to think of it. 30 points, 40 points seems like a huge advantage until it's not.
Yeah, especially with this 0 point system, 40 points for a win, and the drops are quite rapid. So, you know, 2 good races for Crago, and he's doing well actually in P3. Of course, he's quite far off the lead, but as I said, all that could change with a spin or a safety car even. But yeah, Crago, he's going to want to go for that top spot. Of course, if he gets the top spot today and Bailiff fails to finish, then we'd actually see a change. That's the only situation where the championship lead would change hands. But I tell you what, it would be an absolutely brilliant one. Of course, Crago, he seems to have found a lot of form towards the latter stage of this season. I believe was he the winner of last race?
Last race was Bailiff, in fact, at Azerbaijan. He ran a perfect race. There was a very tricky race indeed. Changing conditions, we've seen it a few times already. Imola, another example. Bailiff though coming out top in the feature race at Baku, and of course Zenon and Indian Jesus, the other part of that podium. Farrell Fury again, who was up there, P4. It was really tops and turvy the last few laps. Ash JW and of course myself rounding off the top 6. A good result for Ghost Danger 1 there. P8, one that's I don't think you mind me saying, maybe known to be more towards the back end of this grid, but one that I'm loving to see the improvement he's constantly making. 17th there DNF, but that's what I love about this tier, Ben. You've commentated a few times, you'll see as the races go on, especially if you do it over the course of a season, the drivers improving both their racecraft, their pace, and just their general knowledge of how league racing works. Of course, maybe a little bit desynced this season with the amount of experienced drivers you've got here compared to some, but I think a good blood of fresh talent for competing for maybe tier 2, maybe even tier 3 as well, you know, next season amongst this grid.
Yeah, of course. I'd say certainly. Well, Indian Jesus and Zenon, perhaps the 2 stars in this tier. Pace-wise, as you can see now, they've got an 8-second gap to the next car. I wouldn't be surprised at all if I saw a big move up for those guys. But yeah, particularly Zenon, out of those 2, well, both of them have shown incredible levels of improvement. I've just got a bit of breaking news for you, and it could be quite significant. Bailiff 3 is currently desynced for the lobby, and that's why the contact was made with him and Farrell on the safety car, and I don't think it's changed since he joined back, but I think someone needs to get the message across to him that he needs to leave the lobby, and if we can, he's come to the pits on the soft tyres. The first of the guys who stopped on the softs under the safety car to pit, so that's shame for Cammy. But yeah, Scott, do you reckon you could try and get the message across to Bailiff?
I'll see if he's I know he was battling with Scott Gay, so maybe it has resolved itself, but I'll see if I can get anything. Of course, we've got the backup option. Maybe I can get well, there you go. Aussie has already been tagged by Nathan saying, can you tell your dad?
Tell your dad to stop getting so many penalties.
3 seconds for him, not going to help his title challenges at the moment. It seems to be an issue, as much as of course you'll know pretty well with sort of being involved with the league racing community, Ben, that there was issues on PC and Xbox with the desync, but no real mention of PS. I would say it's definitely a thing here now.
Yeah, with the last update of the game, as Cody's did their job of fixing 1 or 2 minor bugs and bringing an even more major bug into the game. As in Jesus powers through the last corner and gains a fair chunk of time with Zen, and that gap has slowly creeped its way up to 3.2 seconds. It's about 1.6, I think, beforehand, so it could work from the German driver, but he has to keep it consistent. Eau Rouge claimed another victim just there. It was Scott Gay, who was just coming out on fresh mediums. He lost the car. The second has to leave it today after his teammates, the now fallen MUFC Harvey. But yeah, Eau Rouge claiming a lot of victims. Of course, these guys probably haven't got as much experience with setups as the tier 1 guys do, and especially here the situation with setups is pretty precarious, because if you find yourself with a little bit of a loose rear end, then any corner can claim your car as another victim, like we've seen with Eau Rouge today. As I believe Ash JW was, and now Funny Oz Chimp have both gone onto the soft. Chimp is actually changing his front wing. He might have been caught up in some action there. Into some action there. Did you see anything, Scott?
I did actually. I saw both of them. Chimp on the exit of turn number 16, just running a little bit wide. That wall sort of creeps out from the left, making minor contact, losing a front wing end plate, and Ash JW, crashing on pit entry is the reason he had a wing change. A very strange one. It looked as if he also made minor contact on the pit exit. Hopefully no wing damage for him. It doesn't look like by the speed he's going through Eau Rouge. But Ben, is it just me, or is it getting grey?
I've just looked up, Scott, and you are absolutely right. Could we see a few drops? Of course, we're going to have 6 laps to go after this one. Could we see a few drops? Maybe even start trickling down this lap. Who knows? It's going to be very nervous for these guys, hoping, well, especially for the front runners being Zen and Indian Jesus and Krago, hoping that the rain doesn't fall down and start ruining their races, or a safety car, which could, well, especially dry tyres in the wet. Of course, we're not out of the safety car window yet. We've still got a few laps to go. And yeah, we could see a lot of drama here if that rain just started to fall, but we're going to have to wait. Just well, I certainly would like to see some rain throw up the mix up the order a little bit, make the conditions more challenging for the drivers. And it has to be said, the majority of today's drivers here in Tier 4 have handled it pretty well. Handled this track. I mean, a lot of these guys haven't had one moment or spin, which is really impressive to see. And yeah, as you said, shows real signs of improvement as Farrell Fury picks up a 3-second time penalty. Another one who's gone from 0 to 0 today, along with perhaps most notably MUFC Harvey and Wuban as well, who finds himself down in P13 after he was running up in P3 when the safety car had come out. So yeah, a tale of misfortunes today in Belgium.
Absolutely. Ash JW, of course, he is having a little bit of a disaster. They did make contact with the pit exit going into the wall, back in for another wing change, so he will be hoping and praying for a safety car, but he is in danger of getting lapped here, which could be disaster for his race. Farrell Fury, another one that's had a sort of hero to zero moment. I'm sure he was loving it sitting in P2 thinking, I'm going to get the come in. My teammate, of course, come in and talk some smack in a podium interview. Sadly for him, maybe overthinking that, making a slight mistake, and sees himself in P7. Bailiff, though, good little recovery drive from him, currently P6, a second adrift from Matt Rowney, and only about 4 or 5 seconds adrift of his main championship rival Craig. Well, of course, Matt Rowney's still in that fight as well, so these three getting very close together, not just in the championship on track, as we have yellow flags at the Lecombs section.
It is Ash. That's unfortunate for him. It's not been his day today, far from it. I mean, I saw him in Abu Dhabi, he won the race. Had an interview with him, seemed very confident, had some very good pace, but he's now been lapped by Zelen Indy Jesus, and that is a real shame for him. Of course, not his best day. It happens to everyone. We all have our bad days in racing, but yeah, it's just one that he will want to forget. And yeah, he has wing damage again. He's understeering heavily through turn 8, so I wouldn't be surprised if we might see him call it quits for today. Who knows? Of course, he does get a single point if he finishes the race with this unique system to Common Racing League. But well, it's up to him. I'm not sure if I'd want to, but yeah, unfortunate for Ash, but hopefully we can see him come back for the season finale in Bahrain.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, not every race goes to plan. Mistakes happen, incidents happen, and it's just a part of racing and league racing as a whole. So hopefully see him back in Bahrain. He's had some good, strong performances over the course of the season. I believe his first full season here in CRL, so definitely a cause, not a cause for concern, sorry, and definitely a cause to be happy and rightful about what he might have in the future. Of course, Tier 4, a lot of drivers here start off not just in CRL here, but maybe in league racing in general, as we do have yellow flags in the final part of the track. I believe that is Ash. It's Ash, just sorry, I was thinking there, is it Bailiff, is it wee Cammy? I've seen a blue dot slowing down in amongst that group, and I got a little bit panicky there and a little bit excited.
I think Bailiff's decent. Bailiff just hit into Mar because I just looked up, and I think he is really decent. I think someone needs to tell him to get out of the lobby before he catches up to Pio, which hopefully he doesn't. Also, shout out to Pio, he's done very well here running in P4 and looks set to stay on without a mistake or losing time to Bailiff. But yeah, I'm not sure if Bailiff's result is going to count here, as he's not in sync with the rest of the drivers. Internet issues again for him. Well, I don't know about again, but it's certainly not good for him, as yeah, his red light is flashing actually, showing he used a lot of ERS to get past the car of Mar, which doesn't exist on the screen to my knowledge. But anyway, fingers crossed there won't be any more incidents due to the issues with this game.
Yeah, hopefully. So it is a shame. As maybe not the best game I've had in recent years, I must admit. We won't delve too much into that, but no matter how the quality and how you feel about the physics model and the racing availability of the game, when there's basic mistakes like this and little errors, it is a huge upset. Hopefully though, the release of the news game in just under a month's time, I'm praying, Ben, I really am praying, and it is a big prayer, but hopefully we can get a proper little bit of almost as close to a pure sim as we can, with no bugs, no issues. Of course, we expect a little bit of issues at the start. Those will obviously be ironed out in the first month, and hopefully from there on out it stays all good. And no big handling model changes, of course. There was a bit of drama, shall we say, at the start of this game cycle with the handling model being changed and mixed about to do with the esports. So hopefully none of that again at this cycle. But 3 laps to go here around Spa-Francorchamps, and relatively speaking, an uneventful and an incident-free, relatively speaking anyway, race. A couple of BSCs and a safety car. But aside from that, the only real drama, Bailiff and his desync.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, it's been a fairly quiet race. The rain is not going to come, and if it does, I mean, it will be slippery for the drivers. hopefully will be much easier to make mistakes, but I'm not sure if it will have too much of a bearing on the race now. Of course, we are at that safety car window. If anyone crashes now, there will not be any drama in regards to that. But yeah, overall, it's been a fairly quiet race, has to be said, since the safety car. These guys running from P6 down have been on a medium since the safety car. But yeah, Zenon and Jesus, the two guys, it must be the CRL tag, Scott. They're 13 seconds clear of Craggle now.
I don't know what is going wrong for me then. I might need to
I
might need to update mine, get a new model or something. It doesn't work to me, but
it's raining.
That sounds like an
it's raining
now.
On the board in Jesus. Now here we go.
We know how quick the rain can fall in this game, how quick the track conditions come. This could turn into a monsoon, as I believe that's Ash JW having another spin. Unfortunate race for him, and Spider Rob as well through P1. That's lucky. We're on reduced damage here, of course, standard damage rate, so you still get damage at a fair and consistent rate, but the damage model not going to give you rear wing damage, or that would have been severe for the Alfa Romeo. And a few cars look to be sliding and slipping here, of course. Track temperatures falling and a little bit of grease forming.
I'm just watching a
and Hedgehog 11! No! I'm sorry for the dramatic. He's been so desperate to score these first points on the wheel. He's spun out under safety car in Baku. He's spun out again with 2 laps to go. Kez, what are you doing?
Hedge. Oh, I'm gonna cry. That feels terrible for him. That's unfortunate. Lost it on the exit.
It's a tremendous shame for the young Mo. Maybe just losing it with a little bit of grease forming on the track. He will be gutted. Wee Cammy though into the pits for set intermediates. He was down in, I believe, P10, maybe deciding nothing to lose, let's roll the dice and see what happens. So it's going to take a fair amount of rain for him to come back. I can hear you doing the dishes there or something in the background, babe.
I'm sorry, my headset died. It was on low battery for a fair few laps. Can you hear me all right now?
You're alright. You're a little bit echoey, but nothing unbearable.
It's only 2 laps, Scott. You can deal with it, mate.
Deal with it, mate.
So Wee Cammy's got on the inters. He's already been overtaken by Chimp on DRS, and that kind of implies that the track isn't ready, but we are on the last lap. Zenon's actually had a big push. He's gained about a second on Indian Jesus that lap. As he showed a lot of good pace in the wet earlier on, so with his incredible pole lap. So maybe we could see a little resurgence on this last lap, who knows, but for now Indian Jesus has it under control. But this middle sector is going to be more treacherous than they've driven it throughout the entire race. So yeah, could see mistakes. I'm going to go on board with Indian Jesus just to see how he does. There's not too much standing water forming on the track though, so it will only be a bit slippy at worst.
Just jumping in as well, Ben, we've got a tremendous battle going on for what's effectively P3, of course, before penalties applied. Bailiff, Craigo and P will all share a very tight space of the track. Bailiff going down the inside into Kemmel Straight. I think sync-wise he's relatively alright. Doesn't seem to be too much decent, given Craigo's space on the inside, being pretty aware of where that Mercedes is. He also cleared Pio on the run down at 2 Rouge. So as it stands, Bailiff 28 points, but of course Craigo will jump ahead of him on the penalties, so that will jump down ever so slightly. The gap still in Bailiff's advantage, but time to go. Zenon though, yeah, really closing in this gap.
He lost. I think he blew his opportunity there though. He went wide, just coming into I believe it might be turn 14 or 13 or 14. I'm not going to guess too hard. But now Zenon, Indian Jesus has done brilliant in this race. He's arguably controlled it from start to finish, and he is going to come across for another win. A sign of his brilliant improvement in Tier 4, and he's going to cross the line just 5/10 from Zenon, and he wins the Belgian Grand Prix. Zenon, the podium sitters, P2 and 3, they move a step up each this time. 2 or 1-2 for the 2 CRL boys. Bailiff's going to come across the line in P3. He tried to extend that gap out to Craigo, as Pio now gets Craigo. Craigo's really struggling in these wet conditions, but he keeps the car on track, and he is going to get a podium. Bailiff's going to go down to P5. I think that's desync issues. Hopefully he'll be reinstated into P4. Mar crosses the line in P6. Ariel Farrow Fury in P7. And we've got to wait a long time for our next finisher, who is Spider Rob, who's going to score another set of decent points. It might not be quite what he wanted after last week's, well, a podium, I think maybe 2 weeks ago, actually. I'm not too sure. But still P8 for Spider Rob. Good work. But yeah, great driving and absolute dominance from Indian Jesus and Zenon.
Yeah, back-to-back podiums for those two. Spider Rob, like I say, getting that podium with a great strategy call in Imola in the wet conditions late on in the race. Not quite coming early enough for him to make a similar strategy call this time, but will be P8 for the Alfa Romeo. Good showing for them. P2 and well P9 on Spinner's Surprise. Spider Rob getting jumped by Scott Gay. The Maverick finishing P10 ahead of Wiban. Although Wiban finishing on track. Next car to cross the line is Funny Austrian. He got P12, making a debut as a reserve in Tier 3 last week. He's P12 on his return as a full-time driver in Tier number 4. Solid points on the board for himself. The two intermediate drivers of Wee Cammy and Ash JW not getting the call right this week. Cammy losing it on the exit of the bus stop chicane, and it must be said those intermediates are looking
pretty dire.
Interesting, I think is the word.
Yeah, let's go for that. And the Williams cross the line. The two back markers for this week. Unfortunately for them, they've shown great pace throughout the season, but it wasn't their day today, especially not for Ash, who unfortunately did finish the race lapped. But at least he finished the race, which is more than you can say for, I believe, let's just test my maths, 5 drivers today. There we go. Which is pretty decent considering there was a bit of rain, very challenging track. Last race I did at Belgium, I was very far from finishing. So these guys schooling me a bit here. But yeah, we see Indian Jesus take his place on the top step of the podium, joined by Zenon and Krago, 3 guys who've been getting very good results lately, it has to be said. So yeah, is Tier 4 becoming a bit predictable, Scott?
Maybe so, maybe not.
You bottling every week.
Its capability of throwing up certain little things here and there, but there's some really good dominant drivers definitely making a stake to bump up the tiers. Expect maybe a good reshuffle in the tiers over the next season or so. But like you say, Indy Jesus saying back-to-back podiums for them. Craigo making his return to the podium and crucially outscoring Bailiff. He goes P5, but I think that might be due to desync, so could see him elevated to P4. Matt Rowney failing to outscore Bailiff sadly ends his title championship votes, as well as all the others. There was a host of drivers in with a technical mathematical chance of this title tonight, but it looks like going to Bahrain it is between Craigo and Bailiff. Farrell Fury comes home in P7 ahead of Scott Gay, Spider Rob and Maverick, your top 10, with Wiban, Funny Chimp, Wee Cammy and Ash JW your finishers. Hedgehog, my man. Oh, what could have been.
Yeah, word from him on the chat. He says, I can't be bothered anymore. Keep your head up, Edge. Only your first few races on wheel, you've done well. Admitted that you were on wheel after the earlier mishap, and you've been working hard ever since to get back to your pace. And I'm sure we're going to see some great stuff from you next year. And it's all worth it in the long run, isn't it, Scott?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the amount of times I've been close to just, chucking that wheel through the window on my right here and just saying back to pads, because at least I'd be competitive and have a little bit of fun with it.
Yep.
When it goes right, there's no better feeling than beating a race on the wheel, especially with the pad. It takes time, it takes a little bit of effort, but stick at it. You've got plenty of time and plenty of seasons, plenty of races to continue to improve. I'm just going to add our top 3 to the get a little chat of some of them.
I think I've got them. It's Krago82, right? Oh, I can't add them because of their settings. Are you friends with Krago on PSN?
I should be. I am. I'm of course the tier admin lobby host, so I should be host with. I should be friends. Sorry, with them all. Although maybe Krago is one that's off my list. Yes, a friend. There we go. Seems to be added now.
That's one.
But we do have our first 2 in it. Then I'll let you commence off with the interviews as main commentator tonight. Absolute pleasure. Before we get to that, of course.
Of course.
Alongside.
Absolute pleasure for our debut commentating together. We will. Could you tag Krago in the chat, please, Scott? Try and get him in. If he gets in quickly, we can go for him first. I think I've just seen something blink on my screen. Oh no, that was Indian Jesus unmuting. So I'm going to go to Zenon first in case Crago isn't able to join, and I'm going to ask you first, mate. Can you talk us through your qualifying lap, because it was absolutely sensational? Did it just all go right? Were there any mistakes, any imperfections? Because you got it by 4/10, and well, doing it for the getting a 4/10 out qualify on the on a guy who's figuratively sitting across from you in this party, Indian Jesus, is something that barely anyone's been able to do this season. So yeah, talk us through that, because your pace in the wet looked very strong as well. If you're here. Can I be heard? Can you hear me?
I've got you loud and clear, Ben.
Is he just not here?
An issue on your end. I think he's just celebrating too hard. Not able to come to the mic at the moment.
There we go. Are you here now?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Don't worry about it, mate. Did you hear my question, or?
No, the whole thing just fell.
Okay, well, essentially it is talk us through your qualifying lap, because it was absolutely brilliant.
Well, I was running to start with a completely dry setup, and that put me P2, P3, and I kept going through them. And then I figured out the front wing. I thought I'd bring that up by 2, and obviously that paid off. And I think I got 4/10. So
He did, yeah.
yeah, that really paid off.
So I'm gonna skip to another point. Well, as soon as it started raining, I'd say Indian Jesus did slightly have the edge on you pace-wise, maybe about a couple tenths per lap, so not too much, but the gap stretched for about 1.6 to 3.2 seconds to my memory. But yeah, as soon as the rain started falling down, that gap basically disintegrated to nothing. I mean, arguably you could have even had a go at him in the bus stop chicane. But you made a little mistake just coming through the final corner of the middle sector. I saw on board he went a little bit wide. But yeah, talk us through that pace in the wet. Is it just setup related? Did you keep that high front wing from the quali session going on into the race?
Well, I think I put it back down to 7. Yeah, I did. I put it back down to 7, and then I realised it was going to rain last like 3 laps of the race. I was debating pitting for the last bit, but it wasn't worth it. Obviously, it was still completely dry. Just the track was a bit greasy. Yeah, that gap, I think it started at nearly 4 seconds. Well, pacing the wet, I have to say I prefer the wet than the dry. It's a lot easier to dry than for me.
I have to say the same, mate. Much more easy when you're not completely on the limit of the car, and you can be a bit more tentative on with your inputs. But yeah, great drive from you today, mate. Congratulations on the P2. Hopefully we can see you on the top step next week. How's Bahrain feeling for you, if you've got any early laps in?
I've not actually done any practice. I'd leave it
Fair enough.
in a week, to be honest. Bahrain's not my strongest track, but I didn't last season. It wasn't the best race of my season. I got taken out, so
happens.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we can see you. You've improved a lot throughout the season, so yeah, well done to you, mate. And hopefully we can see you. You can join me for another interview next week in Bahrain. But speaking of interviews, we're going to go on to another one. Mr. Indian Jesus, talk us through your race. You looked absolutely dominant out there. Were there any blips or mishaps that made you feel a bit more uncomfortable, or were you just confident the whole way through, mate? Talk us through it.
What a race that was! I enjoyed it so much, man. I'm just feeling really happy right now. It was amazing. I controlled the pace after the safety car restart. I saw Zach on his track maybe in the dry. So I just tried to stretch that gap to about 2 or 3 seconds. But then in the wet, he came back. I think in the end I just took it very cautiously, because I knew it doesn't really matter what I do. I can't win the championship. I just want to finish the race. So I just focused on not making mistakes, which I tended to do a lot in the past few races. And I just tried to finish the race. In the end, it paid off. In qualifying, I wasn't happy, especially in the wet. I didn't change my setup. I went for a fully dry setup, didn't adjust my front wing, and yeah, I just got understeered massively. I think that's why I missed out on pole. Yeah, great race.
Yeah, no, it was great work from you today, mate. Oh, I can hear myself. Is that you, or?
Yeah, must be my my headset, but it's not gonna be.
Oh, no worries. No worries, mate. That's all good. So I can't think of much more to ask you, mate. To be honest, you absolutely dominated from start to finish. So yeah, great job. Well, I'll ask you this actually, because in the wet at the end. Sorry, just give me a sec. Yeah, in the wet at the end, you did lose a fair bit of time to Zenon in comparison to what you'd gained. Did you feel under pressure at all? What exactly was that? Because I asked him about setup. I know he had a slightly higher front wing. Did you lower your front wing yourself, or did you have a slightly lower setup yourself? And were you nervous at any point of that last few laps?
So essentially, I think we both had the almost exact same setup from scratch. I used 7-8 wings. I didn't adjust them during qualifying or the race. And in the end, I mean, I saw he was catching, but I knew it was only 2 laps or 1 lap to go, and I knew he wasn't going to make that overtake stick without a DRS. So I wasn't feeling under pressure, but I knew that he was catching up, and honestly, I'm just proud of him. After practicing so much, after showing such great pace in the practice sessions, to actually bring it to the race, bring it to quali. And it's a shame that he's out of the title race, because I think he would be a deserved champion.
100%. I mean, there are a lot of guys in Tier 4 today. Well, a lot of guys did lose their last chances of winning the championship, unfortunately, as Scott mentioned earlier on. That was unfortunate, but yeah, we've seen a lot of great improvements, and perhaps you two have been the best this season, going from strength to strength. And yeah, this result in a penultimate race really sums that up, so congratulations to both of you. And we are going to wrap the stream up here, boys. Congratulations to Indian Jesus, Zenon, and Krago, who unfortunately wasn't able to join us. But yeah, great work from the boys today, and we will see you for next week's season finale around the Sakir International Circuit. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye from me.